Welcome to Break Free to Brilliance podcast, empowering women in business through thought provoking interviews and insights. Embrace your authentic power, explore the impact of your story, and discover how writing your best selling book can amplify your message, authority, and the 3 I's: impact, influence, and income. Welcome to another amazing episode of Break Free to Brilliance podcast. This is your friend and host, Seema. I'm so glad you've tuned in today. I don't take your time or attention for granted. Whether you're on your morning walk, in the car, or carving out space between meetings, thank you for being here. This episode is deeply personal. It's not about tactics or content calendars. It's about the core shift I've made in my life, my work, and visibility, and the ripple effects it's had across every platform and every room I walk into. Before we dive in, I want to ask you, when was the last time you truly felt seen, not just for what you do, but for who you are? If that question feels hard to answer, this episode is for you. You know that moment when a fix feels good, but that same issue creeps back in? That's treating symptoms. But when we focus on systems, the deeper patterns, the root issues, that's when transformation sticks. Are you trying to fix things in your business that might actually need deeper realignment? What if the problem isn't the algorithms? What if the problem isn't the algorithms, but the way you've been trained to silence your truth to play it? For a while, I was stuck in that loop. Business looked successful, content was going out, but inside, I felt like only 70% of me was showing up. I knew I was capable of more, not more output, but more honesty, more alignment, more me. The shift begins not with strategy, but intuition. This shift didn't start with a rebrand. It started with listening, not to an expert, but to myself. I began noticing what lit me up, what made me feel free, what made me feel lighter, what made me feel more connected. What parts of you have been showing up in whispers lately for you? Is there a truth or story that's been trying to find its way into the light? The more I let those pieces of me through, in coaching calls, in live trainings, in real conversations, the more whole I felt. And the more people began to connect with me, not just my expertise, but my energy. I realized that spirituality plus strategy is what really equals self-leadership. And as I deepened my spiritual practice, tuned into my intuition, and gave myself permission to experiment with truth, I started to lead myself differently, not just in business, but in life. How often do you check in with your soul before you post, pitch, or present? What would shift if your voice came from alignment instead of agenda? This wasn't about becoming a different person. It was about becoming whole. So here's what I find most visibility experts don't say. You don't become magnetic by curating your life. You become magnetic by living it. When I started living fully, everything else caught up. People told me, Seema, you're glowing. You look so calm. You look so happy. You look 10 years younger. And I have to tell you, that really made my day. And what changed? It wasn't my website. It wasn't my funnel. It was me finally giving myself permission to show up real. Are you crafting content, or are you crafting connection?
What's the version of you that's ready to be seen, not just marketed? Let's talk about the head, heart, and hand, a leadership model that really grounds me. My husband Upendra says this quite often. He came up with this model. He says that when your head, where you have clarity and your knowledge, and your heart, where you have your truth and values, when they are aligned, your hands, which is what makes you take action, they move in flow. So when your head and your heart are in alignment, your hands do the actions and you move in flow. Where are your actions out of rhythm with your inner truth right now? What would change if your next business move came from harmony and not hustle? This shift helped me stop performing as a thought leader and start living like one. And for a long time, I hid behind my titles. I hesitated to call myself a thought leader, a visionary, a change maker. I thought I had to earn it even more, prove it even more, and wait for someone else to validate it. But then I reflected back on the course of my life and all the things that I have done and the number of people that I have helped, the 100,000 people we've trained and transformed and mentored, the number of over 100 authors that we've helped. I looked back at every single major challenges that I had overcome and accomplishments that I had. And I said, Seema, you're already there. But I also realized that those titles don't make me who I am. I make those titles mean something. Now I own them because I've lived them. So, what title have you been afraid to claim? And what would you become if you stopped waiting for permission? The real moment that brought it all together for me was recently I led a corporate training where I introduced all of me. I shared how I battled through chronic illness, defied 11 doctors, got off 30 medications, how I co founded a wellness movement in Silicon Valley, how I became a 6-time international best-selling author, how I've helped 100 women become authors. How all of that, not in spite of it, is what makes me a better leader, a better trainer, and a better guide. And the room shifted. When was the last time you walked into a room fully as yourself? No edits, no dilution, the whole you. The truth? People don't connect with perfection. They connect with presence, with power, with you. So if you've plateaued, if you're tired of showing up correctly instead of completely, if you've been waiting for someone to say it's safe to tell the truth, it's safe to be authentic, this is your moment. You don't need more followers. You don't need more followers. You need more. Share the story you've kept in your back pocket. Let your head, heart, and hand find rhythm and then move. Because the world doesn't need another perfectly curated voice. It needs yours. Raw, real, radiant. So, what truth are you finally ready to bring into the light starting today? Because when you lead from wholeness, you don't just get noticed, you get remembered. And that, my friend, is how your story becomes a movement. So if you don't get anything else out of this episode, I want you to get this. You don't need to perform to be powerful. You don't need a strategy to be seen. You need the courage to be seen as you really are. Real visibility isn't about algorithms. It's about alignment. That's what creates authority, magnetism, and legacy. If you're ready to stop editing your brilliance to fit into the boxes that was never built for you, if you're ready to be the voice that shifts rooms, hearts, and entire industries, then this is your moment. Show up. Show up unfiltered. Show up unapologetic and show up unmissable. Because when you lead from wholeness, you don't just get noticed, you get remembered. And that's how your story becomes a movement. I'm Seema Giri, and I'll see you in the next episode of Break Free to Brilliance. If this episode spoke to you, stirred something in you, or made you feel seen in a way others haven't, please share it with someone who needs to hear it and let me know in the comments. I love getting your messages and hearing how you have taken the next step. Because the more of us who show up fully, the more we will all rise. Until next time, this is Seema.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Break Free to Brilliance podcast, and I hope you had some key takeaways that you can implement right away. Be sure to subscribe to Break Free to Brilliance wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also follow along with us on social media using the links in the show notes below.